doing matrix multiplication. Now, as you probably know, there are these things called matrices. They have rows and they have columns. And the interesting things about these is that you can add them, you can subtract them, you can multiply them together, you can even divide them. But today we're going to be talking about matrix multiplication. So the first thing that you learn about a matrix is it's going to have so many rows, and it's going to have so many columns. Now the rows are going to go from left to right, and the columns are going to go up and down. And we always write the row number first, and we always write the column number second. So for this first matrix, notice how it has two rows. It's got a row of numbers at the top, and it's going to have a row of numbers at the bottom. So this has two rows. But how many columns does it have? Well, it also has two columns, right? You see the 1, 3 right here, and the 2, 4 right here. So we call this a 2 by 2. A 2 by 2. And looking over here, this one is also a 2 by 2. This one is also a 2 by 2, right? Since it has two rows and two columns. So what we're going to do is, we're going to make sure that the inside numbers match up before we even get started. We're going to make sure that the inside numbers match up. But then the outside numbers, this 2 and this 2, those are going to form the dimensions of my product. So my product is also going to be a 2 by 2. So whatever I get over here, it's going to have two rows, and I know it's going to have two columns. So here's the way it's done. We do row by column. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to circle the first row in red, circle the first row in red, and then I'm going to circle the first column in blue. The first column is going to be in blue. So now I multiply those together. I have 1 times 5. That's going to get me 1 times 5 plus 2 times 7. So I'm going to have 2 times 7. And then the next thing I'm going to do is, I can work that out, right? 1 times 5 is 5. 2 times 7 is 14. And when I add those up, I get 19. 19. So that's going to be the first number. Alright, so we're done with the first column right here. I can mark that out. And now what I'm going to do is, I'm going to circle the second column, since I'm done with the first column. Alright? But I'm still sticking with that first row from this matrix. So now let's multiply the first row by the second column. We get 1 times 6. 1 times 6. I'll put that right here. Plus 2 times 8. 2 times 8. And I know that 1 times 6 is going to give me 6. 2 times 8 is going to give me 16. And when I add those up, I'm going to get 22. So I'm going to put that right here. Alright. So now I'm done with the second column. So I'm going to draw a line through that second column. So now I've exhausted all of my columns, and I'm ready to move on to the next row. So let's go ahead and move on to the next row. I'm going to circle the second row down here. And we're going to repeat the process all over again. We're going to take this row and we're going to multiply it by these columns. So starting off with the second row, at the second row I have 3 and 4. The first column is 5, 7. So I'm going to multiply this row by this column now. Second row by first column. So 3 times 5 is going to give me 15. That's that 3 times 5. But then I'm going to have 4 times 7. So that's going to give me 4 times 7, which is 28. And then 15 plus 28, that gives me 43. So 43 is going to be my next number. Okay? And now the last thing I have to do is, I have to do the last row by the last column. So I'm going to be multiplying this 3, 4 by this 6, 8 over here. 3 times 6, I'm going to have 3 times 6 plus 4 times 8. 4 times 8. And when I work it out, 3 times 6 is 18. And I know that 4 times 8 is 32, and 18 plus 32 is going to give me 50. So that's going to be the last number to finish up this matrix that I got going over here. So notice we used all the rows, we used all the columns, we've exhausted all the columns, and now we can say that we're done. Notice that this answer is a 2 by 2. It's definitely a 2 by 2, right? Because those were the outside numbers over here. We know it's a 2 by 2 because it has 2 rows, the top row and the bottom row. But we know it also has 2 columns. It has that first column and it has that second column. So you're just multiplying row by column until every single column gets used up. And then you move on to the next row. So I hope that helps.